This video is brought to you by BlueCert. BlueCert is a trusted provider for AI-related certifications designed to validate expertise in machine learning, data science, NLP, AI security, and more. You can go to bluecert.org to take a look at all of their offerings. You can explore the certifications. Here we have certifications on machine learning, AI healthcare, AI in finance, natural language processing, and many more. If I go to machine learning, you can see the different potential roles that are available for machine learning as developers and even different paths that are available. And this provides you with AI-focused specialization, flexible online exams, and also employer recognition. You can also check out some of the sample multiple choice questions on that category. If you're looking for certification for machine learning or AI related fields, check out bluecert.org. In this section, we'll be talking about functions. What exactly are functions? Why do you use functions? And also how we can create our own custom functions. Now, functions and methods, they're similar, and in some languages, people call it methods. In some languages, they're called functions. So let me go ahead and write also here, methods. So functions or methods are simply lines of code that serve a common purpose. All right. So if you want to group together 5, 6, 10, 20, whatever lines of code to perform a particular action, then you would create a function and put those lines, all of those lines, in the function so that you can reuse it later on. All right. Let's take a look at an example. We have some code over here, and very simple code. I'm just going to say name equals to John Doe, and then we have a message which simply says welcome John Doe, because we're going to use a formatted string, and then we print out the message. Okay, nothing complicated. We just print out the name value, welcome John Doe. Now, later on, we found out that we want to say welcome to some other person also. How can we do that? Well, we can just copy the code like this and print it out, change the name of the variable, because these variables we have already used, so we won't be able to use those. I mean, we can assign them again, I guess, but change the values and all those things. But copy pasting code is never a good idea. All right. Why? Well, because maybe right now you're saying welcome, and maybe tomorrow you will say hello. Now you have to go every single place where you have copy pasted and you have to change that to hello. Currently, there are only 2 places, but there can be 20 places, maybe in even different files. So, not a good idea to copy paste code. Maybe for this scenario, we can create a function called greet, because this is greeting person, right? I mean, this is greeting like hello John or hello Mary. So one of the things that functions provide you is reusability. And you can, if you define a function, you can reuse it in other places also. So let's see how we can define a function. We define a function in Python using the def keyword. Def stands for definition, and it can be followed by the name of the function. So what do we want to call a function that greets people? Greet. Functions also use snake casing. This means that if my function name consists of 2 words, I would combine them using the underscore and still keeping lowercase. Then I'm going to say colon. You have seen colon with conditions before. And if I press enter right now, if I press return, you will see that it is indented a little bit differently, right? I mean, it's indented a little bit. This means that whatever lines now I'm going to write, that will be part of the greet function or a greet method. And there we go. That is it. This is how you define your function. Now this function is quite simple. It has a name, greet, and if you call this function, it's only going to execute a single line of code. But you can have multiple lines also. You can have multiple lines. And how do we know that these lines are part of the function? It's all about the indentation. See that indentation after the colon? And if you're using, VS Code, or if you're using REPL, this indentation will automatically happen. Like if I go and if I'm at the very end of this, if I put a colon right there, you can see colon, and I just press enter, it's automatically indented. I don't have to indent it myself. All right. Okay, so this is a very simple function. It's called the greet function. If you call this function, these two lines will be executed because that's the body of the function. How do we call the function? Well, the way that you call the function is just by calling or using the name of the function and then putting these round brackets. That's it. That's it. So what is going to happen is that when you call this function, it's going to go right there and it's going to execute line number 1, line number 2, and that's it. The function is over. So if I run this right now, you can see that these two lines were actually executed, which are coming from the function. Now, this is fine. This is our first very simple function. But every time we call the function, it always calls, or it always says John or hello John. But sometimes we want to say John, but other times we want to say Stephen and Mary. The function should be flexible enough to accommodate those things. Or else I'll have to create another function to greet Mary and another function to create Stephen and another function to create whatever. And that can be like a billions of functions, which is not a good idea, right? So then the question becomes, well, how can we do that? I mean, right now we can see that it's always going to say John. So functions can also take arguments. And in the next lecture, I'm going to show you that how you can create functions that takes arguments.